Hey, what is up everybody? Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. In today's video, guys, we're going to be going ahead and doing the unit review for the man Messa here, seeing that this character is absolutely goated. Now, if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're currently recording this on a Friday afternoon. Well, I guess Friday morning. It's not even 12 o'clock yet. Friday morning at 10:22. You guys should see this as well on Friday. I'm trying to at least triple upload, as I did say in the I think it was the summer Moko video. So hopefully y'all are enjoying this. Hopefully y'all give a lot of feedback on it and share this around, because man, global's getting here fast. I want to make sure y'all know everything you need to know about these characters as much as possible. But now we went over that, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So some brief talk about the man, at least Messa, is this was the first character besides like cherishing them that came out who was a guy who absolutely had the 5X Stormy. This character brought so many players into the game, and just getting to meet him over in the overworld was already a treat, but actually getting to play the character was even more so better. He brought in another aspect, which was the almighty damage coming from at least his bleeds, while also being a physical DPS. The character was absolutely insane. He has bleeds in his build, or bleeds in his kit. He has all different types of things, and he brought in another mode similar to at least Makoto when she dropped, called the Executioner mode. So it was fairly interesting to see this character. Brought up a huge amount of hype, and we saw more of this with his A0. Now, if you guys want to go ahead and invest into different awarenesses, I'm gonna go ahead and go over this now before we go about zero. The awarenesses that I would highly, this in the most best way here, would recommend is going to be A3 and A6. Reason why, well, I guess A1 and then A3. The reason why I'm going with this way is because A3 is where you can finally kind of branch out and at least explore more of his other way of playing the game. Reason for this is because how Messa does work is he has a DOT build, being more or less leads, and then he has a physical team build. Now, the key part about his physical team build is with that in play, he's actually able to do the DLT slash the physical damage a lot easier and do a lot more different aspects of damage that normally you wouldn't be able to do without having these set awarenesses. So with at least a 1, you're at least being able to inflict more bleeds, which is why I'm saying A1 is pretty decent. So if you can go for A3 and up, that would be the best situation, because this increases laceration, which more or less goes more into his executioner state and allows him to deal some crazy insane damage, especially if you go for the higher ones in the future. But character at A0 is still pretty decent. He's all right, he's well-rounded, and he's more or less a DOT unit. So pretty much how Messa works at A0 is he has his 2 states, Hunter and Executioner. He starts off as Hunter, which has these 3 different move sets, and then after a while he's able to of course switch to Executioner, but that's once he does have a certain amount of bleeds on the enemy. So in Hunter form, he can inflict a certain amount, or at least has a chance of inflicting these bleeds here, and it will transfer said bleeds to the next highest HP enemy. This has a 65% chance of inflicting the bleeds, so once you have it fully stacked, you then can go into his next form, being Executioner. Executioner then changes his skills, all 3 of them to be exact, and then for each 3 bleeds on a target, he will then deal laceration damage. Now at A0, the laceration damage isn't too crazy. It's actually kind of low, and more or less you're going to get a lot of your damage from your bleeds, while when you get to the higher awarenesses, that's where you see laceration deal a ton more damage here, which is why I kind of recommend at least A3 up. If you want A1 to get the extra stack of bleeds, that will always help you as well, but definitely A3 and up is the best, at least plan of action for this character. So he is the first unit that has brought in like almighty damage, or at least bleeds themselves, or just almighty damage as a DOT itself. This was a huge deal. It really changed a lot for a lot of people, and really was bound into his kit based on how you were playing this man, which if you were at least the higher awarenesses, you would take more advantage over using his physical side and not really paying too much attention to his DOT side, so you could build him differently. You are more or less having him deal a ton more damage with that, and you are allowing him to really exploit his Executioner mode. While if you were more of the person who was A0, A1, you were using him for his DOT, you could use him somewhat like a physical, but the amount of damage that you would get out of just using him as a physical would be more or less way lower than you would get out of him being as a T unit. And it was two different worlds. So go ahead and talk about it. So when he's out into his hunter mode, his regular mode, he has, of course, incision technique, lethal pleasure, and then of course night arrival. That one is the one that actually allows him to go into his executioner mode after you get a certain amount of stacks of bleeds on a person. So now we went over this here, incision technique. This one is allowing you to at least instill some bleeds on the enemy, in which can immediately at a 0 and under and trigger different bleeds. All right, it's going to actually help you out with triggering these bleeds and making sure you can get them stacked as much as possible. This is going to be your main stacker. Okay, if you want to be, of course, dealing the most that you can deal, this is going to be your stacking move. It's going to help you out quite a lot. You're going to get a lot of your DOT damage from, and even some of your damage if you have him on the higher end of just awarenesses. Right, the next one that looks there is going to be lethal pleasure. Now, lethal pleasure you don't use too often. Even I think in the hunter form, you don't really use that version of it too often as well. Because if I'm right, both the curtain call and lethal pleasure are both kind of mid in hunter form and executioner form. Don't pay too much mind to this one, but with this skill here, of course, you're able to trigger your bleed. So think of it more as a what's it called? I guess a explosion, or I'm trying to think of a detonate. There it is. Think of it as a detonate for your bleeds. You don't really want to detonate your bleeds because at the end of the day, you want those to stack up as possible, get that nice old DOT damage, and really just take advantage over dealing as much damage to the enemy. Now, as I did say, Knight's Arrival, this is going to be the big one because this cannot be used unless you have 7 bleeds. That's the executioner. Once you get these 7 bleeds stacked from at least the skill 1 and other little ways of doing it by using his highlights, you will then be able to change your form. This goes into executioner mode, in which changes his skills accordingly. Inside of this, you still want to go ahead and invest into skill 3, skill 1, because skill 3, of course, is how you change your deal. Skill 1 is where you get the most most bang for your buck, and that's usually going to do your big boy damage whether you are a 0 or a higher, right? Gonna help you out no matter what. Just for the people who are higher on the A awarenesses, it's gonna really help you out even more so than people who are lower. So inside the executioner mode, we have simple gain, curtain call, and then of course the save skill 3. Well, with simple gain here, that now is able to at least remove bleeds. So once you have those 7 bleeds or more on an enemy, you then can use physical damage to then remove 2 bleeds at least at minimum after you use this skill. This is going to deal some decent damage. It's going to be your more or less best move to use, and that's going to be what you really want to focus on. Then of course you have the curtain call side, which this would be only something that I would feel like you would use if you are on the higher awareness level. If you're not on the higher awareness level, please don't use this skill. You're going to be removing too much of your bleeds, and seeing that you are playing as a DOT character or as a character that really stacks off those DOTs, you want to leave this alone. This skill is not really too useful unless you are like high awarenesses, right? That's going to be your big boy damage move, because at the end of the day, besides just the DOT, we're really just looking for that final damage, which this does a ton of damage for anyone who is higher awareness. Lower awareness, try to avoid using it. So really all you need to know, stack bleeds, take off a little bit, but you still have them there, you deal damage. It's always going to be good to do it that way. But the character still has his other little strong points, which are going to come down to at least his highlight, allowing you to actually get bleeds on this here. And then of course, being able that he needs EHR to deal a lot more of his damage here. He does increase 30% of his EHR, increase the physical damage from a bleed as well, depending on the amount of EHR and attack percentage. So it's also going to be very, very helpful. And he does actually require a little bit of pin. So if you guys have not looked into that, the pin rate on this guy you really want to have as well to deal as much damage as possible. Now, with this character, we're going to go ahead and go over the weapon. Was it worth pulling this weapon? I'm going to already say it right now. If you're going for this character, he is a DPS character. DPS characters, you don't really want to miss their weapon, especially if you want him to be good at low awareness or be usable at low awareness. Please get his 5-star weapon. If you're on the higher awarenesses, you're already high awarenesses anyways, please get the 5-star weapon. It does make a difference for him. It increases pin, which means it's going to increase his bleeds. It increases his attack. It's going to increase his bleeds damage. Either way, both of those go hand in hand, and it will help a ton. Laceration is also boosted with this, which will trigger a decent bit of his damage as well, with the increased damage dealt that you have, who will then be affected by said bleed. This makes a huge difference. For this character, if you're planning to invest in him even at A0, do not miss his 5-star weapon. It will really make you a very happy person to have it and change his playstyle quite a lot and make him deal a ton of damage. The weapon is actually insane versus the 4-star weapon here, in which you still can use, but it's really just helping out his attack and a small bit of an attack with the amount of stacks that it does have based on the bleed. But if you get a major buff in attack, a major buff in pin, which you do need to build on this character, it helps out laceration as a whole, and then you get a major buff in damage dealt based on the bleeds that you have on the foe. So either way, you're getting 3 times as much things that you would normally get if you just go ahead and get this 5-star weapon. It is immensely worth it. Please don't miss this out, or else you might end up regretting it. But that's personally my feel on this. Of course, you guys can take that with a grain of salt and decide not to do it, but that's up to you. But now we went over this here, let's go ahead and show off his skills and how they look, at least in a fight. Now, I do have to say, Messa is probably my favorite character. Like, hands down, is one of my favorite characters in this game. And it was probably the first character that I looked at and was like, you know, I want this character. I need this character. And I don't regret it to this day. Duping this character out was the best decision of my life. If you don't dupe him, perfectly fine. He's just not nearly going to play how he plays, that you guys are going to see in a second. So to show off the ultimate here, we're going to go ahead and do it in 1x. And you guys see, kind of walks up to you, does a bunch of slashes, which this was the most hyped I've ever been. I think I did so many videos on this character just to show you what he can do. But as you notice, 2 people died. That was because the bleed stacks that I also ended up hitting both of them. Granted, this is because I have him duped out, so it did double the damage, hinting at the other one and spreading the damage to that one as well. Now, this character is freaking awesome. Like, I'm sorry, he brought in so much freaking hype for me and made things so much better. But with the skill 1, it looks somewhat like this. This is what you're usually going to be using. It puts on different bleeds. Seeing that I am further duped up, I put on a lot of bleeds on the enemy, and when of course the enemy that had those said bleeds dies, it transfers to the next highest HP enemy. So as you can see, got 9 bleed stacks off here, immediately transferred to the other enemy, allowing you to do some crazy. Now, I could transform, but I first want to show you the second skill so you guys can at least see how that looks, and then we'll do the transformation looks in the next video, or at least not next video, the next battle. So skill 2 looks like this. Remember, you don't really want to be utilizing your skill 2. It's not worth it unless you are high awareness, because that's the only time where you're going to be really taking advantage over at least what's it called, Messa's skill 2. Now I'm gonna go ahead and redo this again, which I accidentally went back to the title screen here. Make sure we're on the right thing. And the character himself, once he goes into executioner mode, you guys are gonna see it looks sick. So let's go ahead and use this. Make sure we get our bleeds off, because those are gonna just stack on a random person. We don't want to kill anyone else because Messa will kill them pretty easy. Let's go ahead and use this here. That kills. Hopefully we don't kill them. I don't want to do the follow-up attack yet because I know for a fact that's gonna definitely kill if we do it. So let's just avoid doing that as well. And since we have our minimum of 7 stacks, we can go ahead and go into our executioner form. Now, executioner form, you can either click this and do it. It still does the same thing. It doesn't matter. You can either press the Alt key and trigger it, or you can just press the skill and trigger it. Once you do both, or either or, he'll do something like this, where he then goes into his form and he changes his stance accordingly. Now, all of his skills, or at least his first 2 skills, have now changed, in which the first one looks like this, which does like a huge slash, does a ton of damage. Once again, you're removing 2 bleeds minimum, which do some crazy damage as well. And then I would like to just restart this anyways. I do have some stamina on me, so I mean, like, it's not the world, I guess. So let's just toss some stamina in, just because I just kind of want to continue and not have to restart anyways. But and then the second skill looks totally different as well, but that's not going to be useful unless you are still going for this. If you are wailing, like if you are going to wail on this character, then you spend on, or at least you do the skill, second skill. Other than that, please avoid doing it. It's not going to be helpful for you. So definitely try to keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and set up the same way. Make sure we get our 7 stacks, which actually I think that might be more than 7, so we might end up killing him. I hope not. Yeah, it was 9. Okay. Woo, close. Almost killed him. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing. This time I'm gonna trigger with Alt. Same little animation. And then for skill 2, it looks like this. And that removes all bleeds. So unlike your skill 2, when you're in hunter form, it removes all of them and does a different animation. This one removes all of them and does that animation, and it's 3 times stronger depending on at least your awareness. So surely do keep that in mind. But really cool character. I'm really excited for this character. Anyone who usually pulls for this character, I swear, I look at them, I'm like, good choice, good choice. Especially if you decided to go for dupes for the man. He's absolutely amazing. His almighty bleeds with his DOT is actually amazing. And if you dupe him out, the bleeds with the amount of damage he can actually perform is insanely nice. I really love it. It's awesome. And he's just an overall fun character to use. But let me know down below in the comment section if you guys are going to end up pulling for this guy. But without further ado, thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, peace out.